Most people go through their entire lives being programmed, and they don't even realize who's holding the remote. Think about your day-to-day for a second. Think about that one coworker who knows exactly how to get under your skin, or that relative who always drops a passive-aggressive comment at dinner just to see you flinch. Maybe it's just a random person online who writes a 3-sentence critique of your life. In every one of those moments, it's like there's a giant red button sitting right on your chest. And when they press it, you dance, you defend yourself, you explain, you argue. You spend 20 minutes in your head crafting the perfect comeback to someone who doesn't even actually care about the answer. And that right there, that's the trap. We've become hyper-reactive. We've been conditioned to think that every ping needs a pong. Every action needs an equal and opposite reaction. But in the real world, the world of social power and respect, that law is a lie. The second someone realizes that button exists, they own you. They don't have to be smarter than you. They don't have to be right. They just have to know which frequency makes you jump. They press the button, and you do the rest of the work for them. You think you're standing up for yourself. But from the outside, you just look like a machine responding to a stimulus. You've handed over the manual to your soul and said, if you want my attention, just poke me right here. Once that's clear, you're not the one in charge of your life anymore. They are. Now look, I get it. It's hard to just ignore people. And there's a scientific reason for that. When someone insults you or tests you, the ancient lizard part of your brain kicks in. It treats a sarcastic comment the exact same way it treats a physical attack. Your heart rate spikes, your breath gets shallow, adrenaline floods your system. Your brain is literally screaming at you to do something. This is why silence feels so heavy. It actually feels physically uncomfortable to let a comment slide. You feel like if you don't win the interaction right now, you're losing status. But here's the secret high status people know. The lizard brain is a liar. It tells you that reacting is strength, but in modern society, reacting is almost always a sign of low status. It shows you're movable. It shows that your internal mood is basically a slave to whatever is happening outside of you. Imagine a king walking through a village. If a beggar yells an insult at him, does the king stop to explain why the beggar is wrong? Of course not. If he did, he wouldn't be a king anymore. He'd just be another guy arguing in the dirt. His silence isn't because he's deaf. It's because he's too big to be moved by something so small. When you react to every little poke, you're telling the world you're on the same level as the person poking you. Let's look at how this plays out in real life. Let's call this scenario A. You're at a party or a meeting. Someone makes a joke at your expense. It's got a bit of a sting to it. Most people let their ego take the wheel immediately. They throw a barb back. They get defensive. They try to explain why what the other person said isn't true. And what happens? The person who poked you smiles. Why? Because they got a bite. Now the situation has life. It's a back and forth. Because you engaged, you validated their nonsense. You turned a stray comment into a whole thing. Now they can push more. They can say, chill, don't be so sensitive. Which, let's be honest, makes you even angrier. The longer it goes on, the harder it is to walk away. You feel like you have to get the last word. You've already invested the energy. You're already in the mud. You're trying to win a game that you never should have agreed to play. By the end, you look flustered. You're over-explaining. You're trying to fix a moment that you should have let die 10 minutes ago. You didn't leave it alone, and now it's wearing you out. Now let's try a scenario B. Same comment, same condescending tone, same audience, and nothing happens. You hear it. You might even look them in the eye for a second, not with anger, but with a kind of bored curiosity, like you're watching a weird bug on a wall. Then, you just go back to what you were doing. You turn to the person next to you and keep talking about your weekend. The comment hits a vacuum. In scenario A, the tension was shared between you and them. In scenario B, the tension is 100% on them. Because you didn't pick up your end of the rope, they're the only ones tugging. They're waiting for the spark. It doesn't come. Now they look awkward. They might even try to repeat the joke because they think you didn't hear it. And man, is that pathetic. Nothing kills a tough guy vibe faster than having to repeat a joke to someone who doesn't care. By refusing to react, you force them to drown in their own disrespect. You haven't said a single word, but you've won the exchange because you stayed unmovable. Now, I want to be really clear here, because a lot of people get this wrong. There is a massive, massive difference between ignoring someone and just taking it. Hesitation is when you're frozen, you're hurt, you're upset. You want to say something, but you're too scared of the conflict. You look at your shoes. You try to disappear. People can smell that fear a mile away. That's not power, that's being a doormat. Control is a totally different beast. Control is when you have the perfect comeback ready. You could destroy them if you wanted to. You could turn it into a fight right now. But you look at the person, you look at the situation, and you realize, this isn't worth my time. It's the difference between a dog barking at a lion and the lion not even bothering to look up. The lion isn't ignoring the dog because he's scared. He's ignoring the dog because it's a dog. When you stay silent from a place of strength, people can feel it. It doesn't feel like you're taking the hit. It feels like the hit didn't even reach you. It shows the world that you are the one who decides who is worthy of your energy. So how do you actually do this when your heart is pounding and you really want to snap back? You need a system. I call it the 3-second rule. When someone pokes you, give yourself a full 3 seconds of silence. Don't speak. Don't change your face. Just breathe. Most people fail in the first half second. They react instinctively. If you can own those first 3 seconds, you own the whole room. During those 3 seconds, look at the person like a scientist looking at a lab rat. Don't look at them with hate. Hate is a reaction. Look at them with detached interest. It sends a very specific message. That was a weird thing for you to say. Why are you acting like that? Once the 3 seconds are up, you don't even have to address the comment. You just move on. You redirect. You go back to your work, your phone, or a better conversation. You show them that your attention is a limited resource and they just lost their access to it. We live in an attention economy. Everybody wants a piece of yours. Every time you react to a troll, a hater, or a person trying to push your buttons, you are giving them a paycheck. You're telling them that their bad behavior is valuable enough to buy your time. High-status people are expensive. Their attention is hard to get, and it's very easy to lose. When you become unmovable, your value goes through the roof. People start becoming very careful with how they talk to you, not because they're afraid you'll yell, but because they're afraid you'll just stop acknowledging them. The ultimate social death isn't being hated. It's being irrelevant. When you master the power of ignoring, you hold the power over everyone's ego. At the end of the day, ignoring people isn't about being mean or playing games. It's about self-ownership. It's the refusal to be a puppet. It's the decision that your internal peace is more important than someone else's need for a reaction. Most situations in your life don't need you to fix them. They don't need you to set the record straight. They just need you to leave them alone. When you stop reacting to everything, you stop being a target. There's no handle for people to grab. There's no button for them to press. You're not a character in their script anymore. You're the one writing yours. You aren't just staying quiet. You're reclaiming your power. You're becoming sovereign. And once you feel that power for the first time, you'll realize you never want to give that remote control to anyone else ever again. If you're ready to stop being easy to move, do me a favor. Comment the word sovereign below. It lets me know who's actually watching and who's ready to take back their control. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.